We all knew it was only a matter of time.
Federal law enforcement fired sniper rifles at ICE agents and me, you know. But I made a turn at a good time. I turned to the right. Charlie couldn't believe it, actually. He said, "How the hell did you make that turn?" I said, "I don't know."
I said, you should learn. And then Charlie, he didn't learn. He didn't learn. As you can see, I told him, you just do like this. You just do like this. And the bullet goes right past your head. And what did Charlie do? He said, okay. And he didn't learn, folks. He didn't learn, because what happened just a year later, you know? Should have practiced, honestly. A Democrat would get deported for doing this. Oh my God. He's so funny. There's not a human being alive who cares less about Charlie Kirk than this guy. Oh my God. This while people are getting deported over their Charlie Kirk comments. I think 6 people. God damn, he's funny.
Federal law enforcement fired sniper rifles at ICE agents and me, you know. But I made a turn at a good time. I turned to the right. Charlie couldn't believe it, actually. He said, "How the hell did you make that turn?" I said, "I don't know." Federal law enforcement fired sniper rifles at ICE agents and me.
This is it's the reason why Trump is fit to leave this movement, and Charlie Kirk or J.D. Vance or Miller or whoever else, they never could have, you know, which is that they're ideologically fascist. And Trump at the end of the day is like a theater critic show huckster who happens to be like Donald Trump isn't ideologically anything, okay? Donald Trump is just Donald Trump. He just happens to be at the head of this movement. You know, he could be at the head of any movement. There's nothing ideologically weighing him here. He could be the charismatic head of a cult. He could be the charismatic head of like like a media production company. It doesn't matter. You know, he could be doing anything. He's got he can fill many roles. He could even be a reality television star host, if you could believe that. If you could imagine a world where that would be the case. Here's the State Department tweet about the 6 people who got deported. This administration is so soy, dude. Can you imagine putting out a tweet as the Department of State celebrating the deportation of 6 people? 6 people because they criticized your favorite Nazi podcaster? The U.S. has no obligation to host foreigners who wish death on Americans. The State Department continues to identify visa holders who celebrated the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk. Here are just a few examples of aliens who are no longer welcome in the U.S. An Argentine national said that Kirk, quote, devoted his entire life to spreading racist, xenophobic, misogynistic rhetoric and deserved to burn in hell. Visa revoked. Well, good deeds get punished. Meanwhile, Trump over here being like, well, if Charlie was that guy, he could have dodged it, but he wasn't that guy. I'm that guy. Are these confirmed or are they real tweets? Dog, like 100 million people have said they don't care that Charlie Kirk died. I'm sure they're real tweets. It's not like you don't. It's not unrealistic to assume there are people on visas in the United States who feel this way about Charlie Kirk. Especially if they're so desperate to dig to the bottom of the barrel that this is what they're going for. There are probably thousands of people on visas who responded to this with like way more heinous shit, you know? Charlie Kirk died and they're all caps posting on Facebook about how, you know, jihad should be brought to America or like the death of 1,000 innocent children, You know, I'm sure there are people out there crazy posting. You know they're desperate to get these deportations when they're posting people saying, I think Charlie Kirk was a bad man and he's gone to hell. You know, that's just an objective fact. He is in hell right now. He's the only one there because hell otherwise doesn't exist. Like, look at this. Neanderthals can't have their cake and eat it. This weekend they went openly black racist, and now they're hurt the racist rally ended in attempted martyrdom. Charlie Kirk won't be remembered as a hero. He was used to astroturf a movement of white nationalist trailer trash. A Mexican national said Kirk died being a racist and died being a misogynist. This is like really weak sauce shit, you know? Don't you think, like... Don't you think they could have found people being way crazier about this? I'm mutuals with people who are crazier about this. I'm surprised. You'd think they'd be like, and here was a manifesto posted by some schizophrenic who hated Charlie Kirk, who talked about how this marks the beginning of a 100-year war of attrition against whites in America or something. You know, like I don't know. I feel like they could have gotten more material here. If they deport the tame ones as the chilling effect, yeah, man. I mean, it's just like they can't actually do it. You know? They can't actually do it. There's a reason why they're just going after the foreigners. It's because they And meanwhile, they still can't like really do this, but they're getting away with doing it right now. They can just unilaterally revoke the visas. When it comes to citizens, you would have to pursue charges against them. Now there's already lawsuits. Yeah. A lot of this isn't even going to get borne out in court. Like a lot of the stuff the administration does, it doesn't hold up. It's literally just there for the tweet. The consequence of this action is pretty much going to live and die with the lives of these 6 people and everyone who engaged with the tweet. And that's pretty much it. Most of these people, I imagine, are going to be fine. Some of them might even win lawsuits against the administration. You know how much stuff they've done that's fallen through? Remember the South African nationals? Remember when they canceled all refugees coming over to the United States, and they're like, time for us to house the real poor, hungry, and oppressed white South Africans, and they brought over 40 of the fattest people from Johannesburg, and then a lot of them couldn't even get jobs in the US because everyone hated them, and some of them had to go back to South Africa. Like, it's what happens when your administration's run by content creators. It's the Mr. Beast games administration. There's no interest in building any kind of like lasting change. These people don't want to build a white ethno-state because that would take work. It's like the pro-Palestine protesters they tried revoking visas on, a ton of which fell through, by the way. Again, I'm not saying the administration isn't dangerous. I'm saying that they're fundamentally unserious. I hate to keep reusing it over and over again, but it really is the aphorism that describes the problem with this administration from their perspective, which is that the nuts are firmly inside the trousers. You've got underwear. You've got multiple layers of fabric. You've got the zipper before the nuts are even coming close to touching fresh air, okay? Yeah, you need to table those bad boys. Not to mention they're all addicted to different stimulants. Yeah, but that makes them more powerful, not less. Has any other administration been as unserious as this one? No, I'm not even particularly studious on my history, but I think it's reasonable to say no. There's no presidential administration that has ever been as unserious as this. In terms of open corruption and like flagrant incompetence, no, not even close. We're genuinely out there where past the scale, you would have to, if you were to depict it as a graph, you would have to have a break in the middle of the graph or depict it like exponentially to be able to include all the numbers, like visible in the same table and distinguishable. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Logarithmic. Well, it could also be exponential, right? Let's see some of the other ones. They didn't have the tools back then to be this unserious. I actually think, in a way, it's a sign of the of our privilege, of our the robustness of our society, because this level of incompetence 150 years ago just would have killed everyone, like almost immediately. You know, like you get to be a vaccine and like health food conspiracist today when all of our food is vetted by the FDA and all of it is like treated and checked and you've got the medicine and the doctors and so on. But if you acted the equivalent of that way 1,000 years ago, you would just die. You would die very quickly. The first time you defied the wisdom of your ancestors and didn't listen to Mima and started eating, raw meat without any treating because you think it's more masculine or whatever, you would just die. So I think like in a longer term, more abstract sense, that's what this administration is. It's the consequence of, because like the Soviet Union couldn't have been this wacky. They tried. Lysenkoism was very wacky. There are some ways in which they couldn't have been this wacky. Lysenkoism was very, very wacky. The Soviet Union, I mean, ultimately its contradictions bore out its end. It couldn't hold itself up. America must be very strong to be able to survive governance like this, I have to say. That's kind of like a testament to the institutions a little bit. I'm not saying they're doing their job or anything. They're not protecting us meaningfully, but it is pretty, I don't know, it's pretty cool that a nation can even survive this level of gubernatorial incompetence. I doubt it can forever. Crazy emperors did exist as well. Yeah, but crazy emperors in empires that survived had like viziers, advisors, and administrators around them who did their best to keep things afloat in spite of the craziness of the emperor. In this case, we're one level down because the emperor and all of their immediate confidants are all equally crazy. And then they purged the administrative state and filled the top levels of those with equally crazy people. And all of their staff are also, as we're going to see later, like neo-Nazis and equally crazy. So you were like a couple levels down, basically. We're like 4 tiers down from the top. This is the Ottomans? Yeah, maybe. I don't know much about the Ottoman Empire. It's very Russian, like the sort of shit Putin would do? No. The propaganda wing of the Kremlin is insane, but I think in terms of like internal operation, like just maintaining the state, I think that a level of incompetence as demonstrated by people like Pam Bondi or Kash Patel would have had them dropped out of Windows by now. Like the incompetence there has more to do with the graft and the, you know, the oligarchs pilfering and, you know, the corruption and so on. But I think when it comes to actually managing the affairs of state, well, there is a lot of ground corruption in Russia, but I think it takes on a different form. The problem with corruption in Russia is more like everyone's, you know, using their mouth to siphon gas from the tank so they can get drunk because the liquor rations have run out. It's a different kind of corruption. Whereas in the United States, it's more like everyone in power is already wealthy and comfortable, but they all want to get on each other's podcasts. You know what I'm talking about? Like, no one who's corrupt in American government is like, I'm, you know, I'm starving. I need to steal from my commander's rations. I need to steal from the barracks to survive. It's all like, I'm already fine. I just like, I think it'd be totally epic if I could like get this YouTube video out. I don't know. It's very strange. Yeah, everyone wants just wants to feel liked, you know? A Paraguayan national charged that Charlie Kirk was a son of a bitch and he died by his own rules. Visa revoked. Epic. POTUS and Secretary Rubio will defend our borders, our culture, and our citizens by enforcing our immigration laws. Aliens who take advantage of America's hospitality while celebrating the assassination of our citizens will be removed. So soy. I bet a lot of these people aren't even going to be ousted.